Hey friends, how are you doing today? It's Lee coming at you with another video. I wanted to talk to you today about the American election, and if they say there's no evidence of voter fraud, they are trying very hard to not see anything. There are none so blind as those who refuse to see. I want to start out by showing you something that was on Natural Health News. And someone sent their newsletter to me, and I thought, wow, this is the best place where everything is put together. They just had it laid out in one email. What I'm showing you today, right now, is just the first of the many links that they have on it. If you go to naturalnews.com, you can see all of this. I mean, Michigan ballot worker brags about destroying every Trump ballot that he saw. What else have we got? Operation Scorecard. Yes. 500,000 votes switched. Okay, that's where we are right now. All right. So this was put up at the Gateway Pundit, which, yes, it is a conservative publication. There were some computer geeks that looked at the raw files of the election data. And this was from the NYT raw data dump feed. Okay, which may not function once the New York Times pulls it. Okay. Now, they're looking at this, and there's updates on voting totals. This is in Michigan, and it goes down for Trump and up for Biden. Okay, so this is just one of the changes that was done by computer. Okay, so he's gone through this, and there's a few states where they didn't bother because they knew it was not going to make any difference in the election, but there are some places where it looks like intentional manipulation. So Pennsylvania, huge. Okay, there were 941,000 votes lost and 220,000 votes switched. That's what they found. Okay, so they've highlighted here the states that are being contested right now. Now, okay, so we're looking at, first of all, there's Dominion Voting Systems, which is a Canadian-based company. And it's also used in municipal elections here. And if you're Canadian, you're going to want to stay to the end, because I'm going to get into how these systems have and have not been used in our elections. So ES&S, we just had civic elections in Saskatchewan, and I was a scrutineer for one of them. There wasn't a single person who counted a single vote. All they did was count that the number of votes matched. It went into the computer, and all the tabulations were done by computer. Everyone trusted it. ES&S did that. Now, you could look at these, and you're going to see that there were problems with the ES&S systems that were in these states. Okay, now, none of these are the ones that are being contested, but there were problems there. Kentucky, I'm going to show you something from there later, and with one of the races. Let's get back to these contested states. In Michigan, they found that 20,000 votes were switched and 21,000 were lost. In Georgia, 17,000 switched, 33,574 lost. In Virginia, I don't know if that's one of the contested ones, but we've got 12,000 switched and 789,023 lost. You know, there was speculation that Trump might win Virginia. And in fact, you look at these states, and he was leading in all of them, and then they all stopped counting votes at the same time. Who does that? Why do that? And then, 3 hours later, all of a sudden we've got a whole bunch of ballots coming in. That's a completely different matter, okay? So anyway, in Wisconsin, there's a few that were switched and brought around, okay? So Rudy Giuliani has said that Dominion software people are stepping forward as whistleblowers. Okay, he says there's some people right from the company that have evidence. There's some Democrats that were going along with it, and they were just so disgusted by how it was by the end of it that they've decided to actually bring in their affidavits and evidence. Is the media still telling you that none of this is happening? Okay. The claim about election fraud is disputed. Okay. The fact checkers, fact wreckers, they're here. Okay. Without the vote fraud, Trump would win with 307 electoral votes. And that's not so different from what it was in 2016. Okay. Oh, haven't even read this. Source reveals the CIA ran the vote theft while Trump and the Department of Defense documented the entire election coup. This was sources from there. Gina Haspel. Ooh, this is a huge allegation, deeply involved in straight up treason. Okay, so let's. Yeah, Trump was fired, the defense secretary, and oh yeah, there's lots going on. All right, now I want to get to some. There was a person here with. His name is Russell Ramsland, and he heads a company in the United States that started to look at voter fraud. A lot of the people who work for him are ex-three-letter military agency people that kind of got disgusted with what they saw there and decided to work for him instead. They started looking at voter issues, and they found massive amounts of problems, okay? So one of the things they found was that there were, their investigation showed that at least a dozen or more entry points where votes can and are being switched, and the audit trails changed or erased so that a forensic investigation finds no trace. If you're doing this cheating, it has to be caught in real time, was what their analysis had shown. And even the operator of the election system can change votes undetected. Okay, so he says most state offices failed to grasp the extent and vulnerabilities within their systems. They said if they really knew how bad they were, these systems would not even be legal. So in 2018, they looked at the midterm elections, and when they did, they found a number of problems, okay? They compared two different places. So one of them was, I believe, Dallas County, and this other one was, it's called Bexar, but I think it was actually Houston. Now, the Dallas County was the one where Ted Cruz was running, and they found, so there's some here where there's everything's good, and then you look at the one in Dallas where they thought there would be trouble if someone was trying to manipulate things. They found a ton of problems. This votes exceeds ballots thing, that's probably only happening because somebody is interfering right at the end, and you can see some of this a bit later in the presentation, because I'm not going to play that out for you. I'm not here to have them imitate, or sorry, to have me just tell you everything that they've got here, okay? Now, there had been a couple of other studies that were done in the past because they wanted to look at, okay, who's looked at these election problems before? And there have been official reports on this, okay? And they looked, and I believe it was the one from 2017, where they did a test on the ES&S report electionware. Now, ES&S, you'll go to their website, they'll tell you it's secure, it's this, it's that. This is what they found. This is what they released as the results of it. In the servers, there were 17 problems that were critical and 49 that were important. Okay, and then on the electionware clients, 24 critical and 51 important. There were a number of misconfigurations. I mean, there were, and then they said it just got worse with the big IP report. So basically, there's a new platform that all of this moved to, and it came out that, oh yeah, we've got a major security breach in it. And there's been no indication, apparently, that that's ever been fixed. So there's holes big enough for a truck to get through. So what Russ did is they spent time looking at the 6 main computer voting system that's out there, and this took 92% of the marketplace. Now, Here's one thing they found. I think this is the security certificate. There was like 15 of these that had the same one. They were all over the place. He says, imagine if you have 10 blocks of people and and everyone has the same lock for the front door. I mean, that's how bad this is. So they were looking at these different parts of where the information goes, and basically these arrows here is like you can affect things over here, you can affect things over there, you can affect them there, all over the place. Okay, and it all goes to Frankfurt, Germany. It was going to a server in Frankfurt, Germany, which was owned by a company, and I think it was Seidel, that was based out of Barcelona, Spain. So he says, and don't think that there's some way that it's going completely securely anywhere. He says, this is going to the internet. The internet. And so there's access points all over the place. It is bad. Now, I want to get to something here. Okay, so now what we have here is there was an election in Kentucky, and Republican Matt Bevin lost. Now, imagine you're in Kentucky. Do you think that's a Democrat state? And in Kentucky, all these Republicans just won by massive, massive margins. This guy a little bit less, but, you know, still pretty sizable, 64,000. Matt Bevin loses. How does Matt Bevin lose? Okay? Now, Matt Bevin, well, first of all, he was showing them, he says, you know, when you're looking at the results of the Kentucky election, he says that this website here, and you can't see it very well in this degree of resolution I have, this website here is the ClarityElections.com website. It's not some secure Kentucky website, okay? Now, some of you have seen this video where, guess what? It's Matt Bevin again, and this is from the recent election, right? So, okay, Bashir is supposedly winning again. Now, there comes a point in here, and this was captured on CNN, and they just happen to be covering this election at the very moment that this happens, okay? I might have to play this, and I don't know if I'm going to get the audio out of it that I need, but there is an actual moment. There it is. Okay, so it's flipped over down here, but it hasn't flipped up there. So what had happened was you had Matt Bevin. They took 560 votes from Matt Bevin, and they took his count down. His count went down. How do you lose 560 votes in the middle of things? And then, not coincidentally, Annie Bashir's vote count goes up 560, the same amount that Matt Bevin's went down. Okay? So he said if you take that, whatever, 1,120 vote split, you multiply that by 4, that is actually the amount of difference in this election. So you just have these little points where, oh, we made a little change there and intervened. And apparently, according to them, there's calculations done early on through the early polling where they figure out how much change they need to make in order for this to happen. And what else have we got here? He was just talking about some queries he made on the thing. Okay, now, what's wrong with it? They found a whole ton of stuff in this election. This is going back to the 2018 one, where 57,000 votes in Dallas were altered during early voting. And there was 10 blocks of a certain street in Highland Park, I think it was. Okay, they had their votes purged and partially reloaded. In Houston, 250,000 votes were altered on one of the days of voting. Now, here's another thing that happens. All of a sudden, there are a whole bunch of people living in your house, according to these electoral records. Are they actually living there? No. They're living somewhere else abroad. And there's an open source website where they have, you can look up, if you're living there, who else is supposedly voting out of your household, right? There are ghosts. These are people who are using another person's residence and they've never lived there. No one's heard of them. Phantoms. These are people who check in under their own name, but somewhere along the way, their vote is assigned to someone else. Sometimes people check in to vote. Oh, someone's already voted in your name. Then you have purged or tampered votes. And so there was massive amounts going on. So he talks about Michigan. How do you have 138,339 ballots all go for Joe Biden later in the count? I mean, this was how it went. And people say there's no evidence for voter fraud. I mean, use your head. How do you get 138,000 votes in the middle? Now, towards the end of this, what he talks about is how they had tried to do, they'd gone to all kinds of officials, and it started to get verified. And yet all the higher ups, they didn't want to do anything about it. The FBI wouldn't even, they just had no interest. Department of Homeland Security, there were some people at the bottom who they went to 3 independent contractors they went with and they said, wow, these guys' data is good. There's huge problems here, definitely. But the specific part within Department of Homeland Security that's supposed to be responsible for this, they wouldn't even have a hearing. They just had a brief phone call with them, wouldn't even see the evidence. You know, you talk about a deep state, a swamp, whatever you want to call it. These people have encountered it. And if you want to look at this, it's Interview with Source on electronic vote fraud. You can see it. Okay, so now we've got the official story from this agency. And they mentioned actually this agency in the presentation I've just referenced to you. And they're saying, oh no, you cannot do it without detection, do. These people are saying, we found many ways to do it. Okay. You know, it's funny, when Donald Trump had been talking about, you know, they might try to steal the election last time. And so the Strait in Vancouver, they talked about how these voting machines are made in Canada. Probably it's going to come down to that. And we're going to hear about this. So they addressed 3 things here. Okay, number 1, Hillary Clinton, this is accusations. Hillary Clinton controls the voting machine industry. Billionaire George Soros controls voting machines used in 16 states. 3 electronic voting machine companies have donated to the Clinton Foundation. Okay, at the end, you find out that one is true. Okay, now, according to this, the truth about George Soros is that he does not control Smartmatic voting machines. And regardless, were not going to be used in the 2016 election. But the Smartmatic chairman, Lord Mark Malloch Brown, sits on the board of the Soros-founded Open Societies Foundations. Okay, so they're hanging out, they're chumming. Okay, but the foundation, the Clinton Foundation, has received donations linked to 2 companies involved in electronic voting: Texas-based Hart Intercivic and Toronto-based Dominion Voting. Okay, so there were some donations that were there, and before they point out, well, later on they point out, oh, well, Donald Trump himself gave to Clinton Foundation years prior. So what does it mean, is what they're saying. But anyway, Dominion Voting gave to the Clinton Foundation in 2014. Okay, somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000. And some things with Clinton Initiative. Let's see. Just give me a moment here. Anyway, I don't think there was much else to say here, except the ironic thing was all of this was a solution to the hanging chads that became an issue in the Florida campaign in the presidential race of 2000. And so all of this was made as an excuse to deal with that. I guess it didn't work so well. Oh, interesting. Okay, by 2012, let's see, a year after gaining control of Hart, HIG was the 11th largest contributor to Mitt Romney, the Republicans' U.S. presidential candidate. So these vote companies are giving money to candidates. I mean, that's wow. Okay. It says, wouldn't you know it, on voting day on November 6, 2012, an electronic voting machine in Pennsylvania had to be taken out of service after a voter caught it switching their vote for Obama to one for Romney. Well, we saw tons of them in 2016 where people would vote for Hillary Clinton, or sorry, they'd vote for Donald Trump, and they go through down, do their next vote. They scroll back up to the top, and it had switched on them to Hillary. So they asked for paper ballots. And then these videos would surface, and they would say, we want to remind everyone it's illegal to film these. Now, what about these machines that are flipping everything? Okay, so if you go to the Dominion Voting website right now, you're seeing just facts versus rumors. The highlight of this is trying to address all of these things that are coming forward about them. Okay, and setting the record straight. There's no ownership relationships with any member of the Pelosi family, the Feinstein family, or the Clinton Global Initiative. We work with all political parties. Okay. Now, okay, I do want to point out one thing, though. Now, listen to this is what they said on November 11th. This year, despite the fact that voting has proceeded smoothly in all 28 states where our systems are used, close vote counts in several battleground states coupled with delayed results reporting have created the opportunity for a number of company-focused rumor and disinformation campaigns to spread online. Okay, well, you know what? You had all those disputed states that Trump was way ahead in, and they all decided at the same time that they would stop counting, and all of them in the middle of the night all of a sudden had this amazing turn for Biden, and in 3 of those 5 states, not a single one of those extra votes that came in was for Donald Trump. Not one. I mean, use your heads, people. How would that ever be possible in an organic situation? I just want to counter this. Dominion Voting Systems has just told you that everything went smoothly all over those 28 states it was used. I just want to show you Georgia, okay? Let's see. Georgia. there was problems all the time. All the time. Okay. Just give me a moment. Because it wasn't so long before they could find it. Oh gosh. Even the governor couldn't get his absentee ballot in the in the mail in time. So he was having to get a special thing. They're showing up. Okay, everything's looking good. I don't trust the mail. You want to make sure it gets counted. See, people don't trust this mail voting. Okay. So now there's some problems that start happening, and just get a minute here. Oh look, it's 8:13 in the morning, and all voting machines are already down because of a glitch in Spalding County, 37 miles south of Atlanta. So they're sending 2,000 provisional ballots. They don't plan to stay open late unless the court orders it. Okay, next one. There's another problem. Emergency ballots deployed in Buckhead. The voting equipment wasn't working there either, so they had to use emergency paper ballots. We got a poll manager trying to resolve the technical information. There was no technician on site, but election officials said they were in contact with the county. Hey, look at how many minutes are we in? Everything running smooth in every state? Really? Okay. Okay. I want to just talk about the... He has a few fears about the accuracy of the results. Some people have bad intentions. Yeah, that's true. Oh, this guy feels a little bit of uncertainty about fraud and the possibility of the system being hacked. Okay. Oh, some people were told you got to vote later because they could not. Oh, the technicians were able to get the voting equipment working in Buckhead. Okay, so The voting computers came online about 9 a.m., 2 hours after polls opened. Remember, everything running smoothly in every state. Oh, okay, now the Carter Center. You know, this one I found really ironic because Carter actually headed a commission that looked at mail-in ballots in 2009, and they concluded that they were very problematic and that they lent themselves to fraud. But here we got the Carter Center saying, we are confident that these elections will reflect the will of the voters when all the votes are counted. Allegations of potential rigging and widespread voter fraud are baseless, and they create the real and dangerous risk of undermining confidence in our democratic processes, inflaming tensions, and inciting violence. Well, let's not forget, everybody, that 71 million Americans voted for Donald Trump, and you didn't see a bunch of riots and burning and looting and everything else in the streets, did you? Oh, West Oakland precinct. There were technical issues there with delays. Technicians came in, 2 techs. Everyone waited. Okay. Whoa, Morgan County. What? It didn't run smoothly? They had to turn to emergency paper ballots at several polling locations this morning, said the local Democratic Party chief poll watcher. Oh, but she says the poll managers did a wonderful job responding. Some chose to use their supervisors' access cards to activate vote machines and keep people voting and moving through the lines, while several locations turned to the emergency paper ballots. You know, one of the things that Russ found when he looked at the Dallas voting was that you had lots of people who voted with no voter ID. And they were supposed to have a number. Everyone is supposed to have a unique number. The reason those votes came in was because there were things like communication problems or modem problems. And they didn't want to wait for these lines. They just said, okay, well, we'll just assume the best and process them and have them go through. There were clearly some issue countywide with encoding those cards, said Dufert, who has poll watchers at each of the locations. Some issue. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now, remember, these articles go in reverse chronological order, and I'm reading them to you in the correct chronological order. Okay, so here we are, Fulton County. We've been hearing about this. None of those counties polling places opened late. Oh, that's different from June the 9th, when at least 9 precincts opened late, and some voters waited all day in lines. Oh, wait a second, though. But there were some technical issues this morning in this system that works seamlessly in every state completely. Oh, voters had to cast paper ballots until machines started working around 9 a.m. I don't get it. None of them started late. Oh, okay, yeah. We're at Buckhead again. Oh. They reset the devices to fix it. Yeah. You just hit the reset button. You watch the other video, you can hear about that. Okay. Oh, a moving company that they'd hired to deliver elections equipment at precincts backed out at the last minute. How convenient. Why? They said they didn't have any staff to help us move. Really? Really? So the county had to hire the movers. Oh, interesting. Well, maybe. Maybe they all just got COVID on the same night right before the election. The company, remember, it was seamless, no problem. Really? No, it wasn't. Look at this. It was not seamless. Because of the massive push towards earlier voting, mailed and early ballots will likely account for 70 to 75% of Fulton's votes. Really? Okay. Oh, look at this. Another problem. DeKalb County changes 32 precincts. Letters announcing 36 relocated polling places arrived in the mailboxes of many affected voters on Monday, the day before Election Day. The timing of the letters, which were put in the mail last Wednesday, this is all Georgia. This is all just Georgia. It raised some eyebrows after voters posted them on social media. Oh, COVID and social distancing and they'd all been advertised. They'd all been approved last month, but all of a sudden the day before they all changed. A text and call campaign. Oh, sent them. It's kind of like reverse robocalls. Oh, did they actually have an okay one? Okay, let's see. Oh, look at Spalding County. All voting machines in Spalding County were down due to a glitch that prevented the machines from accepting cards. Yeah, I wonder how that happened. Huh. Oh, minor issues on Tybee Island. Scanners were delivered to the wrong locations. That's pretty minor. Power problems. Someone smelled smoke, but they couldn't find a fire. Oh, a transformer blew. Okay, that's interesting. Unfortunate timing. Okay. Let's see. That looks like that one was okay. And I wonder if we've got anything more here, because I don't see too much going on. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Judge orders U.S. postal inspectors to search for ballots in Atlanta and elsewhere. It's 2:25 on freaking election day. And he's sending inspectors to facilities in Atlanta, Central Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Detroit, Wyoming, Colorado, Houston, Alabama, New England, South Carolina, Florida, and Arizona. And they've got to file a status report no later than 3. And produce a week's worth of political and election-related mail logs for each facility, identify the 27 centers they visited, and provide a list of facilities. They file legal challenges against Postmaster General for creating a backlog of undelivered mail. 84.88% of completed ballots in Atlanta had been processed as of October 24th. Holy cow. I didn't hear anything about that till looking there. Oh my gosh. Here's another petition. Here's another. Judge orders these 2 DeKalb polling stations places to stay open late. Yeah, because they couldn't cast their ballots. Okay, that makes sense. You lost a few hours there. It happened in Canada too in 2014. You'll find that out later. Okay. Oh my gosh. Here's another one. Okay. 2,000 technicians were hired by the state, and they needed higher levels of expertise to correct data issues. It's unclear what caused the problems. Most counties had no issues. Yes, it was only certain ones. Maybe ones that they wanted to flip equipment in. In all but 2 or 3 of Spalding County's precincts had been fixed. It's exceeding our expectations. After all this, it's doing actually better than they thought it would. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're having a successful election in Georgia today. I'd hate to see one of the bad ones. I heard the devil went down there. Or is that just a song or a rumor? Oh boy. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here, or if it actually by 4 o'clock, you know, it was going to work. Okay, I can vote till 9. And it only took me 2 minutes to vote. It said, okay. There we go. So, thanks for your patience on that. Closing that one. Okay, now don't mind that this is from InfoWars, because it's just InfoWars basically showing what was put on Steve Bannon's channel. And here, what he says is that, okay, it was so bad in Michigan that there are witnesses from Dominion Voting that are now like having affidavits and everything in this Michigan voting lawsuit. Okay, they were the ones. He's got the community people, he's got the Dominion people, Giuliani said, and they were the ones who were the actual, not poll watchers, the actual observers who were excluded, who were lied to, two of whom stayed behind after all the Republicans had left out, and they're the ones who got the evidence of the 100,000 votes coming in. Yes, 132,000. They have some photographs also. Yes. Dominion voting software has come under scrutiny after a Michigan lawsuit claimed that 6,000 votes from Antrim County were wrongfully tabulated to Joe Biden due to an error in the software. Another error was also caught in Oakland County, Michigan, that resulted in a Republican candidate winning his district after initially being told he lost. See, that error made the difference. The error. Interestingly, Dominion is linked to Bill Gates' Microsoft through a software company called Election Guard. Ooh, guarding this election. Yeah, guard it well. Now, here's something interesting. So I click on this. It's happening. Trump campaign attorney points to Dominion fraud. And when I click on it, what happens? You can't go there. You can't go there. Protected by word fence. It's been temporary. Access from your area has been temporarily limited for security reasons. What is Canada going to do from here? Seriously. Okay, well, anyway. Thankfully, there's a cache. It's been cached. I don't know if what he's... No, it hasn't been cached. Oh my gosh. You know what? Before I started this video, I could actually see what this was. Now I can't even see the cache. Got no cache! This guy, say his name fast 5 times, with the Heritage Center. Heritage Foundation. Can't believe I got it wrong. They do great. And he was on the Election Commission at one time. And, you know, he's already talking about, okay, there was 8 states and voting lawsuits with election day less than a week away. There's actually some kind of database he has, okay, of all the voter fraud. And I mean, Tucker Carlson's been talking about this. I mean, dead people. It's kind of cute the way Tucker Carlson talks about it, you know. When that person died 5 years ago, we thought that was the end of them. But here they voted in this recent election. Yeah. I see dead people. Okay, we're now in Canada land. All right, so Dominion voting machines. Customers across the country. If you've been in any of these municipalities, Dominion voting machines are there for you. Okay. Now, apparently something went wrong in Iowa, and they were giving a statement to them. And, oh yeah, the Russians didn't get it, though. We want to know that. Okay. We were the only company that voluntarily brought equipment to DEF CON's voting village last year. Google it or do a search on YouTube, and you'll find, look up DEF CON voting machine, and this person just shows them right there. She was so discouraged because she saw when they had those machines there how absolutely easy it was to hack them. I mean, you could take the hard drive out, you put your little card in, like it was disgustingly simple. It's only a 2-minute video. Okay. Now, New Brunswick. 2014, they're having, it was not a vote counting problem, but a communications problem. A software failure during the transmission of the numbers to the public. Okay. The vote tabulation machines worked fine. The conservatives wanted a hand recount, but only a judge could order that, so they never got the recount. Now, listen to this. Okay. So the ballots were scanned. This sounds a lot like what we just did in Regina. Scanned by an optical reader, dropped into a seal box inside the machines. A memory card recorded the results. At the end of the machine, each machine printed out its vote tally on a little piece of paper tape. Yes, we got one of those, just like a receipt, had the whole thing. However, it was what was recorded on the memory cards that constituted the official results. So even if you printed that thing out, if someone changed that memory card on the way in, there, you would go with the memory card. And in fact, there's sort of, okay, so first of all, what they say here in this explanation is, we had it all there, but we didn't need to speed the processing of the memory cards because the numbers for the printouts were already phoned in by officials. Okay. So there was a faster preliminary system, and they were fed into the database, released to the media. But then, under the second track, the tabulating machines are driven to regional offices where the memory cards are read, and the results uploaded to a separate database. So they've got two databases, one that the media and everyone heard, and then another one that it looks like they're going to go with. They chose to drive the machines to regional offices rather than upload the numbers from the local offices because the latter option was more costly. So it was cheaper to drive it than to send the data. Okay. As the contents of the memory cards are processed, the results were sent out to replace the earlier numbers, which were considered less reliable because they had been transmitted orally. So in other words, oh my gosh, okay. Oh, this is so bad. I mean, it's a good thing that whatever that government was, it's long been replaced, because who knows if they were ever truly elected. As the contents of the memory cards were processed, the results were sent out to replace the earlier numbers, which were considered less reliable because they had been transmitted orally. So in other words, okay, it was during that process that something went amiss. The computer protocol transmitting the second set of numbers to the media server had trouble sending complete results, Mr. Constantiello said. Noticing the discrepancy between the two sets of numbers, Elections New Brunswick suspended the release of results. The faulty software was a commercial product that had been specifically configured for the occasion. We'd never done it before. It was a unique request, Mr. Constantiello said. He noted that the memory cards were not compromised and that the paper ballots also were intact. Okay, so guess what? Here's what this really means. They had what the machines pointed out, they looked at it, and they read the numbers. But when the cards got to, they were driven, not transmitted, because it was cheaper to drive them to a central location in New Brunswick, and then the numbers didn't match. And yet they went with the new numbers as if people working a polling station did not know how to read numbers. Did the people in New Brunswick ever see what the original numbers were, or whatever? Holy cow. Oh, brother. It was used in Toronto. Oh, okay. Next. All right. Now, guess what? I can't see this because I don't subscribe to the Hill Times. Canadian company, the Conservatives use to count leadership votes, leads election tech industry on both sides of the border. The Conservative Party praises Dominion Voting for its software, but an election expert is raising security concerns and has condemned the party's choice to destroy the paper ballots. In case you don't remember, there were more votes than there were people eligible to cast them. That was never really adequately explained, and the margin was greater than what Andrew Scheer's margin of victory was. So there were more of these, the excess votes exceeded the number that of the vote gap between the two of them. So Bernier otherwise would have been ahead. And then they said, well, we had 3,000 that came in from a remote polling station in Toronto, which still doesn't explain the other 4,000. And why did they have a remote polling station in Toronto when everyone else, sent them in another way? Fishy. Okay, so now if you look at Wikipedia, you can see where these machines were used. And here, Ontario says, A 3-year study of network voting concluded in 2013. At this point, we do not have a viable network of voting that meets our criteria and protects the integrity of the electoral process. So they've looked at it and they said, you know what? This isn't secure. And yet, all of these places in Ontario still had these processes that the Ontario government has said isn't secure. They had it. Now, constitutionally in Canada, the municipal governments are sort of a child of the provincial government. So it's astonishing to me that they would allow these cities to use this software that a provincial study has shown is not secure. Okay, and so what did we have last time in Ontario? We had problems. We had problems in 2018. In 51 Ontario municipalities, a system load issue. Okay, you want to hear how this happened? You've been with me so long, you might as well. Okay, so right at 6 o'clock, when everyone's coming back from work and going to vote, there's a problem for 90 minutes. And the company, which has 250 employees, was not aware of the technical difficulties, which caused many online voting systems to slow down drastically or go down altogether, until the municipalities began flagging them. This load issue was documented. A load issue. Reviewed and determined to be the result of a Toronto-based internet co-location provider placing an unauthorized limit on incoming voting traffic that was 1/10 of the system's designated bandwidth. Okay, so basically they contract with someone, and in Toronto, it's like they crimp the hose. All of a sudden at 6 o'clock they decide that you can't have all this coming in, which meant that they couldn't send in the votes. We want to make sure this doesn't happen again. Yeah, maybe you want to check. Oh, do you shut down your bandwidth to 10% of what it normally is? Yeah, that's not a question you usually need to ask. Why would you do that? So some of these places, they stayed open an extra 2 hours. Dominion said the system glitches were resolved within an hour and a half. Some municipalities reported that their issues began earlier and lasted longer. Okay. And they were trickling out for a while in Woolwich, and then it timed out again. Yeah. Well, at least they didn't have things like this in Kingston and Brantford in 2014 when they'd used them before. Now here, Jonathan Rose. He's an associate professor in the Department of Political Studies at Queen's, and he says, man, this is bad for democracy. It creates uncertainty about legitimacy. He says, research has shown, this guy has done his homework. Research has shown that in other places the data is actually stored in servers around the world, making it very easy to hack. So we have a long way to go before this is a fully secure system. Yeah, all of these places. All right, it's hard for me the way this works to see what comments I've missed. I've missed 19 of them, so I'm going to give you a chance to. And why don't you come and look at my beautiful face? Or even if it's ugly, you can look at it anyway. Here, let's see what I missed. Kelly, I knew we never elected the turd. We may not have known how, but we knew it was corrupt. Yeah, I mean, we had paper ballots. I'm not sure if there were any transmission issues of the numbers that were actually used, because I don't think it worked that way here. So I think it might have happened for other reasons. Okay. Who owns them? Have to look that up. All right. Soros and Hillary owned Dominion. Am I right, Lee? Actually, apparently that was a myth. Yes, we answered your question, Massimo. Yes. Apparently this is a misconception, but I'm going to have to look at the original sources. I've just actually written an essay for the Frontier Center about the fact checkers / fact wreckers, and how, you know what, at best it's a counterpoint. These fact-checking organizations are so political. They're brutally political, most of them. Yeah, I know. Freaking big party. It's just like Black Lives Matter or Biden gets elected. All of a sudden, there's no more rules. You can get as close as you want. And meanwhile, we shut down Remembrance Day. You should all watch Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson's Remembrance Day video that she filmed yesterday and released today. It was actually moving. The stories that these people had of their relatives that fought in wars and everything was amazing. And we are not allowing that celebration. Like, that is sick. It is a major scandal, off the charts bad. You know what? It's gonna really be something, because I think on December 14th is when the state electors choose. And for what I've heard, basically the state legislatures are controlled by Republicans in 31 of the 50 states. So unless they get brutally bribed and blackmailed, it seems like when it comes down to it, they're going to see this fraud. And in the 5 states where all this nonsense was going on, where Trump was way ahead, and then Biden had in his little speech that they all went to, how, yeah, we're going to get Georgia, we're going to get da-da-da. He was like 700,000 votes behind in Georgia at the time. And all of a sudden, oh, he's right. He's right. Oh, bleh. So anyway, they're going to freak out in the States, and all the people that believe everything the media tells them, such as there is no evidence of voter fraud, they are not going to be taking this well. But again, let's remember what good citizens the Republican voters were, because you don't see America burning down. Okay? Hey, Sandra. Okay. It's all rigged. And the coming days, well, I hope they aren't, but it's a likely prediction. Okay. How screwed the Crown is. How can they not know? Well, everybody was very quick to congratulate Biden, and actually Mexico wasn't. You know, here's another thing with this. Does it make any sense to you that Trump's vote went up among blacks and Latinos this time? And it went down 5% amongst whites. Have you heard any political commentator explain how Trump lost the white vote? I mean, that doesn't even make sense until you realize that if you have to resurrect a bunch of 90-year-olds, 100-year-olds, 120-year-olds, and have their vote count, well, 88% of the population then was white. So they're probably going to be white, which is why he lost 5% of the vote. He had more votes than any Republican in the history of America, and anyone else except for Biden, who supposedly got more when he had hardly anyone at his rallies. And when a Facebook followers, it was like 30 million for Trump and 2.3 million for Biden. And all the votes come in the middle of the night. No evidence of voter fraud. And as soon as they can tell you, they cut away. They don't allow anyone to talk about it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Where's John Wick when you need him? I don't know. John Wick is busy playing Totally Tubular, dude, in the third, Bill and Ted movie. That's what he was doing. They don't use any tabulator machines. There it is. They don't. And I'm glad they don't. It's not the only way to cheat an election, but it sure helps. The paper ballots are fed into a machine. Yes, they are fed into a machine. And they will elect Trump. I'm glad you're on my side. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. If you got some value out of this video, send it to someone else. We've been talking for almost an hour. Don't give up. Keep praying, keep speaking, and doing your part. And we'll see you again next time on Lee TV.